And welcome in the ring, folks. Let's fight. We are so privileged that you guys are joining us this evening. We are late. We had two parliaments today. We had the National Parliament and then we had the People's Parliament. And we do apologize for starting our broadcast late, but we are picking up from the National Parliament, which is still ongoing, believe it or not. And we are off from the People's Parliament. We have adjourned the People's Parliament, and very, very happy to be here with you. We are going to be sharing a few thoughts with you guys this evening. Again, very, very privileged that you are joining us. As we like to say when you come on, is to share the live stream. Share the live stream, folks. Our Twitter folks, you know, we're looking out for you guys. Our YouTube folks, we like having you guys with us, and we're going to be on Instagram soon, and we're going to be also on LinkedIn. We are so happy that we have been detained by parliamentary events, and y'all hear my name calling now. My name calling. So we're going to talk a little bit about this 17th sitting of the 12th Parliament. The 17th sitting of the 12th Parliament, which was today. And of course, you guys by now are hearing some of what came out of, or what is coming out of that sitting. And also, if you join the People's Parliament on social media, you're hearing some of what has come out of our Parliament as well. So again, really nice to have each and every one of you here. We wanted to come on, even though we know we were late, but we could not have you wondering what is happening, folks. Did you join us this afternoon? Did you join the parliamentary session? I see Natasha Singh is telling me that Ganesh is giving licks in Parliament. Dennis Booker is saying good night to us and our viewers. Natasha, I see your comments there, and yes, I'm happy that Ganesh giving them some good blows. I'm very happy about that. Good night to Dennis McKenzie and Mortal Hines, Tessa, Althea Beard, and Brenda Braffett or Braithwaite, depends on how you pronounce it. Good night to each and every one of you. We know a couple of folks might join us this evening, but we couldn't let the evening go without telling you how Parliament went. Folks, we could not have the evening go without telling you how Parliament went. And we see some developments on Taiwan. Folks, have you been following that? One day we have an embassy/office from Taiwan setting up. Next day, nope. Next day, nope. But that is the diplomacy under this fraudulent PPPC administration and the minion parties. I saw some comments coming out from the former Speaker of the National Assembly and the former leader of the Alliance for Change, now the chairman of the Alliance for Change, and I want to quote that for you because it's so important. And this is a gentleman, Mr. 𝗪𝗲 𝗏𝗪, who understands parliamentary. Who understands not only parliamentary diplomacy, but also understands international diplomacy. And one of the comments I saw being attributed to him, I want to read for you, and that's what I'm going for. Folks, forgive me this evening. My notes are a little all over the place, to put it frankly, but I'm trying to bring that to you. Yeah. He said he was embarrassed. If memory serves me correctly, the former Speaker, Chairman of the Alliance for Change, 𝗪𝗲 𝗏𝗪, said he was embarrassed. And I have some additional information as it concerns that whole fiasco, the Taiwan fiasco. Let us call it as it is, the Taiwan fiasco. We have some additional reporting where that is concerned. So yes, Mr. 𝗪𝗲 𝗏𝗪 said on social media, he says, I'm angry and embarrassed. This is Mr. Trotman, that our foreign policy shifts overnight like a game. Our position on One China is sacred, and sacrosanct and can't be jeopardized on a whim. Of course, the breaking news of the hour was that Guyana scraps the Taiwan Office Agreement a day after US disclosure. So this is what you get from an infant alley. This is what you get, folks, from the infant alley government. Shame and disgrace. A national disgrace on the foreign policy front. And national disgrace in the foreign policy front. And we continue to follow all the happenings there. And I'm trying to get some information up for you. But again, as I said, we were delayed because of the 2 parliaments that we had today. And so I am finding my bearings. We didn't want the day to pass and us not to engage you guys on these many issues. So breaking news at the hour, the Guyana government scrapped the Taiwan Office Agreement. As a matter of fact, this was a breaking news early on in the day. Scraps the Taiwan Office Agreement a day after the US disclosure. A day after the US disclosure. So we're still following this, and we are following how the events shape up. We are following how these events shape up. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Mr. 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗬𝗵𝗵 saying on social media that he was really and truly angry and embarrassed that our foreign policy shifts overnight like a game. Our position on one China is sacred and sacrosanct and can't be jeopardized on a whim. That was the man himself. The man himself, 𝗪𝗪cie 𝗬𝗵𝗵. What did you guys think about that? Our on again, off again, shifting foreign policy. Desiree, Liverpool, I see you there. Join Hines, Dan Lewis Gittins, Christine Collier, Beverly King, and all the others. I see you guys there. I am very privileged to be joined by none other than 𝗪𝗪cie 𝗬𝗵𝗏, Member of Parliament. Sir, how are you doing? A very good evening and welcome. It appears as though you're still at Parliament.
Yes, I am, Sharon, and I was very anxious and excited to come and join you live to ensure that our people knows what's happening here. We got to keep talking to our people because...
Bring us up to date with what has transpired thus far in the National Assembly throughout the course of the day. And then you can bring us up to date too with what may have happened in the People's Parliament.
Yes, hi, Sharon. Yeah, thanks. Right, so we've been here debating on the bills and the motions to have the Fiscal Management and Accountability Amendment Bill. And we also had the bills to increase the loans, and the debt and so on, the deficit of our country. Are you getting me, Sharon?
Yes, very clear. Go ahead, 𝗪𝗪cie.
Yeah. Yes. So this what we have found here is that these fiscal management accountability here this was be digging a hole and filling a hole. And as we just heard that Ganesh has mentioned very expressed in his argument that the poor people will be affected by such a bill. You cannot increase the debt ceiling and change the act to compensate for your borrowings, which means that your deficit that you're having. They're saying that they took over of a huge deficit from us and the overdraft for the banks, and we can go and check it. Now, that is not true. When you add the thing, within the 5 months, they have increased the deficit by 50% of what we had, what we left. We have actually reduced deficit that we took over in 2015 by at least 30%. And that's what Shoring was trying to explain for them. Now, the thing is, what I don't understand, Sharad, is that
their role is to try to run up the deficit more.
Correct. So that is what they want to increase the borrowing from billions. And this is totally impossible. Why are you going to increase the borrowing now when you have the oil revenue that is coming, it means therefore, because I don't know if you recall, but we have set up this oil revenue into what we call a natural resources fund that can only be accessed through projects and utilizing the civil society, the government and private sector can only access that money. But if you increase the borrowing, I want you to read the lines. If you increase the borrowings, it means that you can go to that fund and spend it from there, which means they're going to borrow to spend, knowing that they have it there. Do you know what that means for our country, Sharad? We are going to be in the Dutch disease. That Dutch disease we're talking about there, it is going to happen to Guyana. And as my Paul rightfully said, my honorable colleague,
their money. They
yeah.
don't mind.
And as my Paul said rightfully, yeah. And you know, Sharad, I am hoping, and there are so many people. There are so many intelligent people, Sharad, that are, I don't know if they're not seeing this thing what we are presenting at Parliament here. Everybody wants to know why we end up at the People's Parliament today. But sometimes you have to take your voice to the street. Because those are the people that we represent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the people we encounter in the People's Parliament didn't ask us why we were there. They knew why we were there.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and this is I've seen here that we are going more in depth. For 23 years, just sit down there and only debt. Who's gonna pay this debt?
Your children and mine.
Is the poor. Yeah, exactly. And that is what's gonna happen. My children, exactly.
Louis at the back. Tell her good night for us.
And Dorita, they all heard me, yes.
Rita, who is there as well. Good to have you guys. I hope you guys can tune in as well. Let me get some of your thoughts. People want to hear from all of us.
Good night, Sharad. Good night, all Ringsiders. We just came out to take a couple minutes break, but as Ricky would have explained, we're in there, we're listening to arguments put forward by the PPP, trying to convince the Guyanese people that increasing the debt ceiling is a good thing, that this is necessary. This is all fun and games to the PPP because, as Mr. 𝗵𝗶 said, at the end of the day, they have they're getting all the tax-free concessions and so forth, so they won't be affected. Correct. They won't be affected, and it is the poor people of Guyana that will be affected. And Mr. Duncan, even in 2020, in my budget presentation, I spoke to the fact that the PPP is there and they're enriching the rich, and they're creating more tax burdens to the poor. And what you can see right about now, you would remember when the PPP went into office, they had all this chat about, oh, we're removing taxation from this and that. And I made my point in the budget presentation 2020 when the PPP presented it, that they are removing taxation from the rich people. And when you remove taxation from the rich people, your taxes, we had a big debate this morning on Fiscal Management and Accountability Amendment Act. And I explained that when you talk about fiscal management, you're basically speaking about government revenues and especially taxes and the way in which those things are managed. What the PPP did is when they went into office, they were indebted to their millionaire friends and so forth that would have helped them to push their campaign, and the promises that they made to them had to be fulfilled. So they went into office and they removed a lot of taxation that would be completely beneficial to the rich people and the rich people alone. And what is happening here today, Mr. Duncan, is because it is absurd for any government to cut spending. Governments cannot cut spending. So what has happened now? The government has decreased its revenue by removing the taxation from these large businesses and corporations, and they have increased their spending. So now they have to come to the house today and increase the debt ceiling because they need money to facilitate the spending that they have to do.
And then they will come next week and tell us that they're coming with the biggest budget ever in 21 days.
That is what is happening, but And a person needs to understand the concept. I remember one particular night a young man came into the ring and I was telling him these are the things taxes are used for. So imagine when you're not collecting taxes for these things anymore, you have to get the money from somewhere. And when you borrow money, Mr. Duncan, you cannot borrow, and that's what it is. If you borrow something from somebody, you have to pay it back, and you have to pay it back with interest. And a lot of times when countries go to borrow from international agencies and other countries, there are a lot of conditionalities that we have to meet with these borrowings. And I am yet to see the PPP outline the conditionalities that we'll have to face and all of these things. But that's where we are right about now, Mr. Duncan. The PPP is going to pass this because their principle and posture in Parliament is that they're not there to see what is right and wrong. They don't care about the debate that is going on. They're there to pass these bills, no matter how ludicrous it is, no matter the arguments that is put forward by the members of the opposition, they are going to pass the bills anyway. So that's what we're facing right now.
And all the arguments are politically campaigning arguments.
Their argument seems to be borrow your way to a happy family.
Yeah.
Good night, Honorable Sh Duncan. How are you, sir?
I am great. I am great. Tell us from your vantage point. How was the Parliament?
You've left us in the house to listen to this Honorable 𝗪𝗶 convince us that raising the debt ceiling is not a burden to poor people. You've left us to listen to that.
Because he can get his 10% tight for church. From that. So don't worry.
It's just horrible, and that's why we decided to take a break. It's too much to listen to the foolishness. Sharon, there's total madness in there.
Total
they are trying to convince us that raising that ceiling is not a burden to poor people. And I just stand up and tell the speaker that the training we're going to have for MP next week, Tuesday, should include comprehension. Now, Ganesh told him, you should be in that training. I think you need more than comprehension training, though, honestly.
Wow. Wow.
But I think they want to train us and gag us. I think that, I think that is, they want us to.
Tell us about the gagging, because we said in our, the subject for our program is 𝗪𝗪cie. So why are they trying to gag us? 𝗪𝗪cie.
Because they give you a nice lecture this morning in the Speaker of the House, you just want to gag. You don't want to be dictatorial on these aspect of things. You want to speak. When we don't turn up, you got a problem. When we turn up to speak, you still got a problem. What you want us to do? We go to speak to the people in the streets and in the and people's parliament. You got a problem with it. What do you want us to do? You understand the point?
They don't know what they want. They can't have enough.
Sherrod, one of the things that I have to mention is like we came back from having the debates at the People's Parliament, and it is crazy, but we have members on the government side of the house. When we are resuming our seats to continue the debates for the other bills that are before the house right now, we have members on the government side of the house shouting across the room that oh, y'all went and smoked. Y'all went and smoked
cheap weed.
Some cheap weed. Because,
ministerial people,
mind you, because this is the idea. This is the way in which they think about the Guyanese people. They believe that going out there to the people, to speak with the people, to have any sort of organizing with the people is, oh, you're going out there with these people that they characterize as people that are smoking. It is the most disrespectful thing to listen to.
Oh wow! Oh, and these are the people who have bought over our marijuana ganja bill. The same people, but you see the clear intent.
And got the audacity to say.
That is why the ganja bill is now parked in a select committee, never to be heard from again, because they want to appear as a hero, but they're not heroes. right? These are the real sanctimonious gangsters. We are joined by our colleague, 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗜𝗵𝗴, and I'm about to throw a lot on her plate. So Ricky and Twitter, stay with us, and let's hear from the Honorable MP, a proper MP. Folks, we're at our 9 o'clock hour, but we did start late. So our viewers, I crave your indulgence for another 10 to 20 minutes. 𝗪𝗵cie, we have the National Parliament Front, we have the People's Parliament Front, and then we have the Taiwanese Front. I don't know, which front you want to take it from?
I tell you, Sharon, it's been an adventurous day. There's just, I mean, there are blunders left and right and left and right. So I'll allow you to lead off.
Good. So
whichever one you want to start with, we can roll.
We started today in the National Assembly, and it was total confunction nonsense. The government is trying to remove the independence of the constitutional agencies as it regards the submission of their budget and their spending. Talk to us about that piece of amendment that was brought by the government.
Look, Sharon, this is precisely what we talk about when we talk about a return to the pre-2015 PPPC. I was horrified to hear Gandlal in the parliament this morning lament that the APNU-AFC took the powers of the president and handed it to the constitutional bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a president in President David Arthur Granger who said, look, we are going to begin to decentralize power. We are going to begin to allow constitutional agencies that we have set up via the Constitution to do specific things, to be in control of their budget, to be in control of their work plans and programs, so that we could realize the true potential of these commissions, these very, very key commissions. If that is not democracy, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I don't know what is. And so to hear Anil Nandlal stand up to speak like if that is a bad thing really does betray the control freakism that is the hallmark of the PPPC.
Yeah.
Because you see, these constitutional agencies are important to are important in terms of holding the government accountable, in terms of ensuring that the constitutional rights of citizens are protected. And so what you have happening is that the PPP wants to return to that era where they control the monies appropriated to these agencies and thereby could control their functions. So they are once again seeking to make beholden to the government these very, very key bodies who require a measure of independence to function and have the unmitigated gall to criticize President Granger for divesting himself of this power and saying to the constitutional agencies, you plan your budget, you request the amount of money that you need, you determine your work plan. And so this is where we are.
Wow. Tell us now, 𝗪𝗵cie, what took us to the People's Parliament at the Sabric Market Square?
Well, of course, you know, look, again, the speaker has and continues to show his hand. His slip is showing the emperor has no clothes, and he cannot now back out, as it were, from that. He has demonstrated that he is biased. Can you imagine? You bring a motion asking the National Assembly to condemn the horrific murder of 3 young men and to extend condolences to the family, and the speaker disallows it on the pretext that it is sub judice, and then does not even entertain information that could indicate to him that not because it is sub judice means that you are precluded from speaking to it. He did entertain an amendment, nothing. So,
What
you
is he
know,
afraid of,
we
man?
are,
What is he afraid of,
this is the
Amanza?
question.
Huh?
I couldn't tell you.
I gotta
I
ask like a
couldn't tell you.
Guyanese.
I could speculate. I could speculate, but I wouldn't be sure as to what is being hidden and what is being protected, etc. So, of course, we engaged that initiative of taking Parliament to the people. If you're gonna shut me up in the National Assembly, which is the people's house, we're gonna come out on the street, which is the people's parliament, and talk. Because we will not be muzzled and we will continue to demonstrate. So, listen, we don't even have to continue to demonstrate. The PPP is doing a fine job of demonstrating to the people of Guyana that they're not fit to run this country. Segue into Taiwan.
Taiwan, Taiwan, Taiwan. Yesterday we heard a big announcement by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, called also the American Embassy on Duke Street.
You know, look, Sharon, can you imagine?
I can imagine.
No,
after
listen,
yesterday.
we're not so serious. It would be hilarious. Can you imagine that we have learned that a monumental development, such as Guyana allowing Taiwan to open a trade office in Guyana, we had to learn about that through a tweet from a US official. Mind you, this agreement is inked since January 11th.
Yep. Tell us.
We're in February now. And so we had to learn that from the US Embassy. Can you imagine? We didn't even learn this from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We learned it from the US folks. Now, any set of right-thinking people would be offended, would be appalled. But again, you find supporters of the government trying to justify this just blatant disrespect of the Guyanese people. They are saying, okay, all right, disrespect us.
Yeah. Amanza, I know that you have your ear on the ground where foreign policy is concerned and a lot of other areas. But I'm hearing from my end, I want to know if you might be hearing the same thing, that the Chinese officials locally had a very, very terse meeting with you thought the Minister of Foreign Affairs, fraudulent as he is, and they were very livid, the Chinese, that unless Guyana make it right, they were going to withhold significant fundings. As you know, we benefited a lot from the Chinese under their Belt and Road Initiative, whatever else you want to deem it. And they were going to withhold a lot of funding from this country, and especially of their support with us on the Venezuelan front too. If we pursue this Taiwanese embassy / office here, have you been hearing anything of that nature?
I have heard that. I have heard that as well. And I've heard that the leader of the Chinese people took time out to personally communicate his displeasure. So what you have is, during the elections, they were calling for sanctions and sanctions.
Yeah.
And in 6 months, they have placed the Guyanese people in jeopardy of sanctions from one of our most long-standing trading partners, from a significant sponsor of a number of programs and projects. You see? And so
where are all the Bajan? Where's the Bajan president? Where's the Bajan attorney general? The Bajan public works minister?
Sharon, when you are interested in power at all costs, it costs you. And the bargaining and the trading away, etc., we don't know what was traded away. But what you are seeing very, very clearly, like I said in my statement I issued on Facebook earlier, that the government of Guyana is not in control with the foreign policy direction of Guyana. They're not in control of it. Clearly, it is being controlled someplace else. To my mind as well, this really does point to the division that is occurring right now within the PPPC ranks.
Yeah.
Because this
Precisely.
this flip-flopping is indicative that one half of the party saying go left, the other one saying go right. And so what PPP has demonstrated is that they are not fit custodians of our international relations and our foreign policy, because we have seen too many blunders in the 6 months that they've been in office. And I call on you, Todd, to resign. He must resign. That's the least he can do.
Well, I know that you aren't going to say that very easily, and it has to be based on all of this that we're seeing. In what 𝗪𝗪cie 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗏, like you, put out a statement in which he said that he is angry and embarrassed that our foreign policy shifts overnight like a game. Our position on one China is sacred and sacrosanct and can be jeopardized on a whim.
The relationship with Guyana and China is almost 50 years old. It was one of the first countries to establish diplomatic relations with the newly independent Guyana. And Sherry, this is why I admonished in my first speech to the National Assembly that we need a steady, studied approach to our foreign policy. We have enjoyed the benefits of having a non-interventionist stance. We have enjoyed the benefits of cultivating the relationships with our multilateral and bilateral partners. And what you see now is a whittling away of that, whittling away of that. And what is happening now is that the PPP and their supporters are so embarrassed by these blunders that they're coming up with pulling all sorts of things, smoke and mirrors, to take away from the fact that they have bungled our foreign policy. And so now, one day we got an office, the next day we scrapped the agreement, and the Chinese got to call them in like little school children to them, threaten them with
foreign policy. To teach them about foreign policy. And sticking by your partners. It's incredible.
And that is a fundamental tenet of our foreign policy. We support those states who are friendly to us and we cultivate those relationships.
Manza, as you're on that point, I want to pull in my colleague Randolph Critchlow, who is joining us. Go right ahead, Manza. Randy, welcome. A very good evening. Go right ahead, Manza.
No, I finished making my point. I'd love to hear
Great.
Randy.
Randy came at the right time. Manza, this morning in the National Assembly, the speaker seemed to have been watching our show a lot, probably is watching even now, as he might even be in the parliament with his cell phone to one side, looking down and to see what's going on in the ring. He seemed to have gotten what we call in parliament the answer, the written record of all that was said on this program and quoted extensively. What are your thoughts in this area that the speaker is venturing? How do we balance our responsibilities as MP, our responsibility as citizens, and our freedom of speech?
The speaker seemed very pressed this morning for some reason, very pressed.
That's British man's very pressed. What's that mean?
Yeah, very pressed. But look, listen, we
Man's audio and video breaking up a little bit. Randy, you can jump in and we have her back.
Okay. Good night to everybody. And Sharon, I must say congratulations on your presentation in the People's Parliament that I will show a little later down. As soon as this program is done, I'm hoping to run all of those presentations. But Sharon, I want to comment on the topic that you were dealing with just before I came in. This issue with Taiwan and Guyana and setting up of an embassy or office or something like that. And it is, you know, as a student of international relations, Sharon, I often follow these things very closely, you know. And as 𝗪𝗵𝟎 would have said, you know, we've established our relations with China, being a beneficiary of a number of loans and grants and projects coming out of China. You know, as a developing country, you have to be very, very careful with how you pat your friends. You know the lion. You have to, if your hand in lion mouth, they say pat your head. And very, very careful when your hand is in lion mouth. And this is why what 𝗪𝗪𝟎 mentioned was very important. During the election time, we saw a lot of deals being made and things being traded away.
Oh, yes.
Right? Forgetting that your hands are not only in that lion's mouth, but in the proverbial mouth of the Chinese dragon, so to speak. But I want to bring to your attention something, Sharon. I don't know if you heard it or 𝗪𝗪𝟎 would have heard, but I was at pains today listening to Newsroom, and it was reported on Newsroom that the government of Guyana's explanation for scrapping the deal was that the deal was made on a miscommunication. And I sat back and I wanted to really wrap my mind around what the government...
Unpack that, Randy. Unpack that.
Try to unpack what ludicrous madness I was listening to. That a deal that Taiwan said was signed. It wasn't something that wasn't signed and we were just in conversation about it. This was something that was signed. So the government of Guyana, through Mr. 𝗬𝗏, accidentally signed a deal, apparently.
So was it written in Taiwanese? They don't have an interpreter. What is the problem that we have?
I have no idea, but that was the official explanation as reported by Newsroom. They said that the government said that this announcement and this agreement was done because of a miscommunication. So Mr. 𝗬𝗏, through our good office of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, signed an agreement with Taiwan to establish an office here accidentally. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, as Ms. Walton Desir said, should resign. This is a blunder of astronomical proportions. You are showing that you are so inept. You are so inept at handling our foreign affairs that you would announce, and it is any student of international relations would know the implications of siding with Taiwan when you are you already have diplomatic relations with China. Just looking at the news, you will see the struggle between Taiwan and between the mainland of China, and you would know about the one China policy, and you would know all of these things. And we have to ask ourselves, Sharon, what was the Ministry of Finance aware that Auntie Sarah and the embassy are going to announce this thing to the world? You know, how much of this the new Secretary of State know of? Because this would have been signed when he was not, you know, he wouldn't have taken over fully as yet. And
well, if Randy, if we put you in government, we could dictate your foreign policy.
Apparently, and how embarrassing it must be to come out and tell the people of your country that you made such a shambolic mistake on a miscommunication, and you signed a document based on miscommunication. It is just...
It's embarrassing, and that is why 𝗪𝗏 𝗪𝗏, a diplomat in his own right, a man who understands these issues, former Speaker of the National Assembly, said that he was angry and embarrassed.
Yeah, it is totally embarrassing.
Because it is the same way they could give away 𝗪𝗏 and then come and say, oh, shucks, we make a mistake.
Miscommunication.
Miscommunication.
You know, we signed something and it was a miscommunication, right? And you know, it takes Guyanese for granted to give them those sort of explanation. It is a slap in the face and it's an insult to our intelligence. To want us to believe that in January, you signed an agreement with Taiwan, right? Straying away from years and years of foreign policy norms and procedures, right? These are things that we understand. And you stray so far away from it, and the U.S. Embassy announced it.
Not even you, Chad.
Yeah.
The disrespect, oh my.
So
the disrespect is so great.
You know, the question is, Sharon, what other agreements do is there still in the draw that we know about that some other body will announce? Because you know, Utah and the government, they love transparency so much.
Something.
Right.
The
Remember
EU could announce something.
Good. They love transparency so much. This is why we don't know about what is going on, because they're the vanguards of transparency, apparently. And you know, they can do all of these things in the secret halls of the offices, and then some other embassy announced it, put you under the pressure, and then you come and tell the country that, look, it was miscommunication.
Yeah.
Whose signature is on the agreement? That is what I want to know. Is it Mr. Utah, or is it Barrett signing for Utah? Is it Gail signing on behalf of Utah?
Yeah.
Sign the agreement.
Yeah, yeah. That is sad. That is sad. And we're watching program time. We've asked the audience to indulge us with a couple minutes past 9. We've gone a little bit. Tell us what's happening in Linden on Saturday. For those persons from Linden who are watching us, or those persons who have folks in Linden.
Of course, we have the parliamentary outreach that I think you will be a part of, Sharon.
Yeah, I'll be in Blueberry Hill.
Right. I think you have. You can probably put up that flyer for them to see, because all the MPs, or most of the MPs, will be up there in region number 10, dispersed to all corners of region 10. Central Mackenzie, right, in front of the coalition office, you'll have Mr. Joseph Harmon, Mr. Cameron Ramjatan, Mr. Aubrey Norton, Miss Gita Edmund Chandon, and of course, Mr. Ronald Cox. They will be in Central Mackenzie. In Amelia's ward, you'll have Mr. Roysdale Ford and Miss Nicolette Henry, Dr. Nicolette Henry. Silver Tongue, Westwood Tuco, Mr. Jermaine Figuera. I don't know if we have the picture up there, but Mr. Jermaine Figuera will be there. And Miss Natasha Singh Lewis. In Christiansburg, for those persons in Linden who are listening, Christiansburg on Burnham Drive, you'll have Miss Amanza Wharton Desire, and of course, right, in Aichuni, those persons all the way in Aichuni, the association building, you have Mr. Ganesh Maipal and Mr. David Patterson in Kokwani. We're not forgetting those persons all the way in Kokwani.
Yeah, lovely place, lovely people.
Right, Devin Sayers and Mr. Christopher Jones. In Wismar, 1.5 miles, we'll have Miss Tabitha Haley Sarabu and Mr. Ricky Rampasad. So we're spreading out all along, all over region number 10. Of course, this will be something that is coming to all of the regions. The MPs and the parliamentarians, they are going to be bringing the parliament to the people like we did today. And on that note, Chair, right after this program, we'll be going live again, and we'll be showing you those persons who missed the presentations out at the People's Parliament in Stabroek. We'll be showing those presentations in their entirety, including the Right Honorable Sheriff Duncan, who was very fiery.
Randy, thanks very much, and thanks for your hard effort being out front and keeping the public abreast on these many, many issues. Thanks, Randy.
Yeah. All right.
And folks, Social distance, wear your mask, sanitize, observe all the COVID-19 protocols. It was nice being with you this evening. Apologies again for starting late. We've had a busy day on the parliamentary front. Do stay safe, folks. Have a great evening and see you tomorrow night. Thank you, guys.